Friends, we are at my mom's house again. She's over there looking up her recipe, and we are going to be here all day long. We have two big parties we're planning. One of them is a going away party. My sister is moving out of state. Today is Friday morning, and we are gonna be here in the kitchen working all day. I'm gonna go through the menu. I'm actually gonna walk you around the kitchen because there's so much stuff. I don't wanna just stand here and tell you what it is, but I wanna tell you what the parties are. So the going away party is tomorrow. It's all gonna be like finger foods, hors d'oeuvres, desserts, simple kind of finger foods because it's gonna be an open house and people are gonna be coming and going. And then on Sunday, we have, how many birthdays are we celebrating? Four May birthdays. And because we're gonna be in the kitchen today, we're gonna do as much prep work for Sunday as well. So let me walk you around and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be doing, and I'm probably gonna miss some stuff because there's a lot. So my mom is starting on making the strawberry cake. It's the same cake that we made in the last cooking day where we did together.
We're making the same strawberry cake, decorating it different for her daughter, Lila. So we're gonna make layer cakes and we're gonna cut it and make it like butterflies. And my husband, who's quite artistic, I'll have him decorate it.
That's really cute. So the next thing we're gonna be doing are a Muddy Buddy cookie. Not the cereal candy, but it's gonna be a chocolate cookie that's filled with chocolate. So we'll get to that. We're gonna do just the Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookies, oatmeal cranberry cookies. We're gonna make two different types of hummus from scratch. We're gonna do an allergen-friendly hummus and a traditional hummus. One of my nephews cannot have sesame or citrus, so that's why we have to do allergen-friendly. We're gonna do caprese salad. We're gonna do our stuffed peppers. This is a recipe that is one of our favorites. I'll show you how to make that. We did make that for, I think, one of the parties at one point. I don't remember which one. We're gonna do bacon wrapped pineapple. This is a new hors d'oeuvre to us. We've never had it, but it sounds phenomenal. We're gonna do some homemade meatballs with homemade barbecue sauce. That is what we are doing for the party tomorrow, for Saturday's party. The party that we're doing on Sunday for the birthdays, we're gonna do teriyaki chicken burgers, and then we're gonna do a rice salad, my mom's rice salad, and we're gonna start prepping some of that, and it's so good. And we're gonna do baked beans, and we're gonna make striped delight. I promised in one of the videos last year when we were cooking this summer that we were gonna make striped delight. It's a pudding recipe, but I don't remember why we never made it, but we're gonna make it today. So we're gonna prep that for Sunday.
I have to tell you that this recipe originated when Becky was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. We had an annual 4th of July barbecue. And in that barbecue, it was at the church, it was huge. And it included a baking contest, and they had a junior section. And Becky entered this dessert, and she took the blue ribbon.
there was only like 2 people that were
No. Anyway, it's been famous since then in our family, and my son-in-laws always request it for their birthdays as well, and it's one of my husband's very favorite desserts. But we're going to make it with scratch made chocolate pudding this time instead of the box.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the pudding from scratch. One thing my mom did while I was getting ready to come over here is she printed off all the recipes, and she kind of started prepping and putting everything where it goes with what recipe, so that when we go to cook, it's gonna be a lot easier. I know that I'm gonna tackle this recipe first, the simple meatball recipe, so I'm gonna grab this along with all the ingredients she pulled out, and we're gonna get started on this. The reason she wanted to get this organized, because she just added it up for the first time, and we are doing 16 recipes, which is quite a lot of recipes. And one thing I am gonna do before I start on the meatballs, like I said I was just gonna do, is I'm gonna get going and I'm gonna cook some of this sausage for the stuffed peppers, because I want this sausage to be cooking while I'm doing something else. That's one thing we're trying to do, is be as efficient as possible. And that's why my mom is starting with the cakes, because those need to cool completely before she can start decorating them. In this bowl, we are gonna measure out the ingredients for the meatballs. We're gonna put 2 cups of Italian breadcrumbs. The recipe calls for Italian herbs too, but instead of doing breadcrumbs and Italian herbs, we're just gonna do the one that has both of them in it. Then I'm gonna soak these breadcrumbs with the milk, so I'm gonna add that next. 1 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1/4 cup of Worcestershire, salt, onion and garlic powder. I like to put the milk and the breadcrumbs in together and mix everything. Oh, we need the eggs, 4 eggs, so that I don't over mix it once I add the ground beef. I brought eggs from home for my chickens. Now that I have all of this mixed together, I'm gonna add 3 pounds of ground beef. And I brought ground beef from my house for this party. I also bought all the chicken. This is the ground beef from the local rancher in my area.
This is my immersion blender, but it has a wire whisk attachment, which I love because my mixer is occupied and I have to whip the egg whites. So I have this that can mix the egg whites or whip the egg whites, and I don't have to take it out of here, whip the egg whites, transfer back and forth. I can just use another bowl.
Roll my sleeves up, hands are washed. I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna mix all this together. It's just easier just to get in there with your hands.
Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm going to separate 6 eggs from the yolk from the white so I can whip the white. And the Strike Delight with the homemade pudding calls for egg yolks. So I will save them and we'll use them in that dish.
Got a cookie scoop, and we're gonna use this so that all the meatballs are the same size. I'm gonna scoop them all out first, and then I'll go through and roll them with my hand. Do I need to preheat an oven, Mom?
Probably. I have the top oven ready for the cake, so you can have the bottom oven if you want. Stiff peaks, look.
Perfect.
Make nice little points. Now, I always read all the comments on the videos of Becky and I cooking or shopping or doing whatever we're doing, and I try to answer as many questions as I can for Becky, and I try to read your advice. Someone, many people, not just one, mentioned the way to fold egg whites into your batter, and I'm going to try it. Thank you. Many comments said take about a cup's worth of the egg white and fold that in and do it at like a cup's worth at a time. So that's what I'm going to do. I really appreciate that advice. Now, many of you said you would love for me to do my own channel. Well, I'm going to tell you it's never going to happen. I don't have the time or the skill. This way, when I make guest appearances, I get to do all the fun and none of the work. I don't have to edit it. I don't have to do any of that stuff. All I have to do is have fun in my kitchen or Becky's kitchen or her backyard or my backyard or the grocery store. And so that works way better for me. I thank you that you think it would be good and it would be entertaining. Entertaining it might be. Now, I grew up watching Galloping Gourmet. I don't know if any of you would be old enough to remember the Galloping Gourmet. In my house, my dad was the major cook. I mean, my mom cooked the everyday meals, but my dad did the fancy stuff. And he's the one who really, really enjoyed cooking. My mom, not so much. She did it just because we needed to eat. No offense, Mom.
She will be watching.
I know she will be. And he loved the Galloping Gourmet. At that time, he worked afternoons shift, and the elementary school that I went to was just down the street, and everybody walked to school, no bus. You just walked to school, and you came home for lunch, and then you walked back to school after lunch. And we together would watch the Galloping Gourmet on my lunch hour. So it was a great time bonding with my dad and learning about cooking. So I think cooking is genetic in our family line. I just had to tell you that whole story. Okay, now I'm ready to put this in the oven. That looks about good. Tap a little to make sure there's not any big bubbles, but this is rather thick batter, so I don't think there's too much bubbles. I like to turn the light on in my oven so that I can see it without opening the door and letting all the heat out as things are baking.
The meatballs are going in the oven. I already know that there were 2 recipes I forgot to mention. We're going to make a cucumber smoked salmon cream cheese appetizer as well. And we are going to be making a pickle ham cream cheese appetizer. So those are 2 more recipes that we're going to be cooking today. I'm going to get going on the stuffed peppers. After I browned the sausage, I put a package of cream cheese in there, let it melt, and that is gonna be our filling for our peppers. I have a package of the sweet snacking peppers that I'm gonna cut in half and de-seed. And then we have some jalapeno peppers that I'm gonna cut in half and de-seed. My mom is getting going on the frosting for the cake. I do have gloves on because I am cutting a jalapeno.
Yeah, the first time I made salsa, the directions said to wear gloves. I didn't have any. I thought I was tough. I touched it. Nothing happened. And I made the salsa, and then I got in the shower. And then I had the pepper oil all on my hands, and it was not any fun. So do wear gloves. In a pinch, I have used a produce bag wrapped over my hand so that I don't touch it because I just don't want to touch it.
This filling has cooled off a little bit. I like to wear gloves for this part too because it's kind of sticky. You just take your cream cheese sausage mixture. I don't know if I mentioned this is hot Italian sausage, and you just stuff your peppers. We are using some foil pans today because sometimes when it's a party, especially if you're going to do this much cooking from scratch, you just have to give yourself a few cheats, and one of those is to have disposable pans so that cleanup just becomes a little bit easier.
Sometimes I can use the foil pans more than once. Sometimes I can use them a lot, but I can't with the peppers and the meatballs. But the reason I bought them is because I only have so many cookie sheets and pans, and I need all of them at the same time because I'm baking 3 different kinds of cookies.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and if this has to go in the refrigerator because we're not cooking these today, we're cooking them tomorrow. And that if I use my cookie sheets to do that, then I don't have that many cookie sheets.
My mom's gonna make some white frosting so she can put it in different colors to decorate the butterfly cake. And then the last thing you put on these is just some Parmesan cheese. And I almost forgot this step, which isn't that big of a deal if you forget it. But I'm gonna cover this with saran wrap, and this is gonna go in the refrigerator. And tomorrow before the party, we'll put these in the oven, and the pepper gets soft and the cheese gets ooey and melty, and it's just really good. And you can eat them really hot right out of the oven, or they're really good when they kind of cool down to room temperature too. Now we need to make the barbecue sauce for the meatballs. And we only have 1 can of crushed tomatoes. So I'm gonna use 1 can of tomato paste, and I'm gonna use the equivalent of or should I do half the can, do you think, Mom? Do you think I should do half?
Yeah, I use half the can.
Half the can? We're gonna use half the can of tomato paste.
And
So I have the stove on. I'm gonna add 1 can of water to reconstitute that tomato paste. And then we have 1 cup of brown sugar. And if I haven't mentioned it before, all these recipes will be linked down in the description box. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm gonna eyeball that. 1, 2, 3. A half a cup of Worcestershire sauce. And I can see on the side of this measuring cup a half a cup because this is a 1 cup measure. Wait, let me double check that. 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Good thing I re-looked at that. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're gonna have to figure out something to do with this. My mom already pre-measured out all the dry ingredients. In here, there's 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, 1 tablespoon of garlic, onion powder, ground mustard, a half teaspoon of white pepper, and 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Oh, we forgot one thing. I thought that this looked a little bit light. It was a half a cup of molasses. That's what I was thinking instead of a half a cup of Worcestershire. So this is looking more like barbecue sauce color. So we're gonna let this come to a boil, and we're gonna let it simmer for 5 minutes, and then our barbecue sauce is done, and it will thicken up because of all the sugar that's in here. Our barbecue sauce is done. I'm turning the stove off, and now I'm gonna take these meatballs and I'm gonna put them in this crock pot, but we're not gonna pour the barbecue sauce on them until tomorrow. So we're going to refrigerate these meatballs. They're ready to go. If you were just making meatballs at home, it doesn't take much more time to double or triple the recipe. That's what I would do if I was just making these for us to eat. I would double or triple it. I would cook them and throw them in the freezer, and then you have homemade meatballs, just like store-bought meatballs, the convenience, but you made them from home and you know exactly what ingredients went into it. You can see how much color we got on those meatballs. That's exactly what you want. That is so much flavor, deliciousness. Which cookies are you getting started on, Mom?
Oatmeal cranberry cookies.
Oatmeal cranberry cookies.
Generally, when I make cookies, I always double the batch, and then I freeze them in a couple of different containers in case somebody finds a container. Maybe they won't find both containers, and that way I have homemade tasty treats to take camping, or when we go out of town. We try not to eat out all the meals if possible, or if I'm taking a meal to somebody that had a baby or had, surgery or something, or a funeral, I have some homemade tasty treats instantly available. But this time I'm not going to double the batches because I'm making 3 different kinds of cookies, and I'm pretty sure there'll be some left over.
While my mom is working on the cookies, I'm going to get the caprese salad put together. This is one of my favorite appetizers for a party because it's so easy and such a crowd pleaser. I like to do some with 2 mozzarella balls and 1 tomato, and some with 1 mozzarella ball and 2 tomatoes. So people can choose whether they want a little more cheese or a little more tomato.
This recipe calls for fresh cranberries quartered. This time of year, you can't find cranberries fresh. I'm using dried cranberries. Other people who have made this recipe also have used dried cranberries and said there was no issue one way or the other. So that's what we're going to use because that's all that's available.
If you like cranberries, one of my favorite YouTube channels is A Country Life, Jennifer, and they are cranberry farmers, and it's really fascinating to watch their channel, and she cooks a ton with cranberries. She's the reason why I bought that steam juicer, and I absolutely love it. She always has frozen fresh cranberries in her refrigerator or freezer, and so that just made me think of her because you're talking about cranberries.
Have you ever had trouble making cookies that the bottom is too dark before the top is done? Well, some years ago, many years ago, you can tell how well loved these are, I found these cookie sheets, and they're specifically for cookies because they're insulated. I don't know if you can see. They're pretty thick, and they're 2 layers. There we go. You can see it's 2 layers there. There is an air. See how that dents in right there? There's an air pocket between the 2 layers of metal, and that keeps it from getting too brown on the bottom. The only drawback is you can't put these in the dishwasher or leave them soak in the sink because then moisture, it's not, completely sealed, and moisture gets inside of them. But I have found them to be the best for making cookies to come out perfectly. And then, of course, the key is the cookie scoop, so they're uniform in size.
For the party on Sunday, we are going to have baked beans. The easiest way to do baked beans is in the crock pot. I'm going to take dried beans, and we need 2 cups of beans. My mom said just put the whole bag in, so that's what we're going to do. Now, my mom measured out all the rest of the ingredients, so we're going to put those in here. I'm going to read you what the spices are in here. There are dried mustard, Worcestershire, chili powder, sea salt, pepper, garlic powder, and then we have a couple more ingredients. There was brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of ketchup, a tablespoon of yellow mustard. I'm just eyeballing all of this. 1/3 cup of molasses. This is what we used to measure out the ingredients for the barbecue sauce, so I'm not worried about using this measuring spoon again. Worcestershire, I'm going to use that to rinse out our measuring cup. The recipe calls for a little can of tomato sauce, but I'm going to use this leftover can of tomato paste so that I don't have to open another can. We didn't use all of this for the barbecue sauce. Now I'm going to take the crock pot and I'm going to fill it with water. I'm probably only going to fill this about 2/3 the way full. We're going to let these beans soak overnight. These are actually going to sit for 2 days. I was just thinking that I probably shouldn't have put the water in. I should have let them just soak one night. But oh well, I already put the water in. All you have to do the morning that you want to cook it is turn the crock pot on, let them cook, and you have yourself the easiest baked beans.
I am making Muddy Buddy cookies. It's kind of a play on the Muddy Buddies that you make with Chex and chocolate and powdered sugar, a cereal mix, but this is a cookie. and you make a round peanut butter cookie. You bake it, then you flatten it with a cup when it's done, with the bottom of a glass when it's done, and then you make a melted chocolate sauce, chocolate melted chocolate. What is that called? Ganache. Mm-hmm. And then you pour it on the top. And after it cools, you dust it with powdered sugar like the Muddy Buddies. Peanut butter. Butter, half a cup each. Half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of brown sugar. Cream it together very well, a couple of minutes. Next, I'm adding the dry ingredients, and in the dry ingredients is a piece of basil. It's supposed to have no basil. Flour, soda, salt. Now this recipe says they aren't going to spread it all. They're going to stay balls so I can put them on the smaller circles. And I might be able to get this all in one batch. We'll see.
The bacon wrapped pineapple has two components. It has the bacon and the pineapple. And to do that first part, it says to line a baking sheet with foil and put a rack on the top. And then all we do is we strain the big chunk pineapple and we take a half piece of bacon and we wrap it up. And the recipe did not say to toothpick it. There's no way this bacon is gonna stay on this pineapple, so I am gonna toothpick it closed and put it on there. And then the second component of this recipe is we make a sauce to go over it, but we're gonna get all the bacon wrapped around the pineapple first, and then we'll make the sauce. I got all the pineapple wrapped in bacon, and we need dates for the sauce, but my mom bought way more dates than we need, so I went ahead and wrapped up the extra dates with the bacon because we had enough bacon. And then here, I chopped up the rest of the bacon for the beans. I didn't realize we needed cooked bacon for the baked beans, so we're gonna do that. The next thing we're gonna do after we tidy up just a little bit, we're gonna take the Nutty Buddy cookies out, we're gonna smash them, and we're gonna head to lunch because it is 1:16 and both my mom and I and my dad are getting pretty hungry. We need a little bit of some fuel so we can finish because we still have quite a few things to do.
Well, the recipe was right. They stayed balls, they didn't flatten out. Whoops. So we're supposed to take them out and smash them. Here we go.
How flat are you supposed to flatten? Oh yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, I think that looks good.
They smell really good.
Oh, peanut butter cookies, my favorite.
They look more moist than a regular peanut butter cookie. Some peanut butter cookies are kind of dry.
All right, now these are too close together on this one.
Oh, see, that's one thing to consider.
Yeah, that is my great plan. So I think I'm going to smash it.
And move it.
Let's see.
They might work.
I think I can do it if I just scoot a couple over a little. Ouch! Stuck my thumb on the other cookie sheet. Oh yeah, I can slide them apart. Oops, I just cut one.
This is the last of the cranberry cookies. Those have already been taken out and they are right here. They smell incredible.
There we go.
The bacon wrapped dates and pineapple do not need to be cooked yet. We're gonna cook these tomorrow so they're fresh, crispy, and hot. I'm gonna wrap these in saran wrap, pop them in the fridge. We are off to head to lunch. We just got back from lunch, and so we're getting ready to finish out this cooking day. My dad is gonna be decorating the cake, and I wanna just look at our list and I wanna start crossing things off so we have a better idea of what we need to do moving forward. We still need to do the hummus, the fruit plate, the pickles, the tomato. This one's done. This one's done. This one's half done. That one's not done. This one's done. These cookies are done. These cookies are done. These my mom is buying. We're picking those up tomorrow, and this is what my mom is gonna work on while we work on the other things. And then we have the baked beans done for this recipe, so we still have quite a bit to do, but we feel more energized because we've been fed. And I think I'm gonna make myself a cup of coffee here in just a minute. So in this little Dutch oven, we are going to make our sauce for the bacon wrapped pineapple. I've got 4 dates in there. To that, we're gonna add 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, We're gonna fill the can up with grape juice. And we're gonna put that in there. We've never made this before, so I'm not sure exactly how it's gonna turn out. But all the ingredients sound good, so I'm sure it's gonna taste good. My mom pre-measured out the dry ingredients, or the seasonings. Half a tablespoon of tomato paste, so not very much of that at all. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, which is 1/4 of a cup. We're gonna let this sauce come to a boil. We're gonna let it boil for 2 minutes, and then we're gonna blend it up in the blender. I wanna show you what my parents have going on. My mom is frosting the cupcakes, and my dad is gonna start carving this cake, and then he's gonna decorate it for us.
I melted 1 cup of milk chocolate chips and a 1/2 teaspoon of oil in the microwave to the point that it's very smooth. And now you pour and spread the chocolate center. That might be too much. And then you let it get completely hard and you dust it with the powdered sugar. This is the first time on this recipe. Can't vouch for it yet, but it's looking pretty good.
They look fancy.
They do. It's said to apply this chocolate with a spoon, but I think this is working better for me.
Now this sauce was supposed to have some regular Tabasco in it, and my mom does not have any of that. So I added a little bit of sambal, and that smells so good. I'm just gonna put it back in here. We'll put this in the fridge once it cools, and then we'll baste the pineapple wrapped bacon once it's crispy. So that just needs to cool and it can go in the fridge. This is a Whole30 recipe, and I think that's why it uses the dates as opposed to like brown sugar. If you use brown sugar, then you wouldn't have to go through the step of blending the sauce.
This over here, and this here, and this here. So that there is our
butterfly. We are gonna make the pudding for the Striped Delight. So we need to put 2/3 cup of cocoa powder in our sift. Can you see how chunky that is? We want a really smooth pudding, so if we just plop that in there, we would end up with a chunky pudding. So I'm gonna sift that together. Now we're gonna add 3 cups of milk with the chocolate. I am using whole milk. And we're gonna turn this on and let it slowly warm up. We have our 6 egg yolks that we saved from the earlier recipe, and now we're gonna add 8 tablespoons of cornstarch to the egg yolk mixture. To this, we're gonna add the remaining 1 cup of milk.
Can you make it more frosty?
I can't make it that pink color.
And then we're gonna whisk this together until it's really, really smooth. Oh, I think we're supposed to add sugar to this too. The sugar is supposed to go in with this milk and cocoa mixture. So I need to add that. Go ahead and add that right now. No big deal. The last thing I'm gonna add into our egg mixture is 2 teaspoons of vanilla and our salt. We have our 4 components for our pudding. We need our egg yolk mixture, a little bit of butter, some melted chocolate, and the mixture on the stove. What I'm gonna do now is called tempering the egg yolk mixture. If I was to pour this egg yolk mixture right into this pot, we would end up with scrambled eggs. So I take the hot milk and I pour a little bit of that at a time into our egg yolk mixture, stirring the whole time, and this is going to increase the temperature of the egg yolks, and it's going to not shock the egg yolks. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to eventually put this pot of hot milk back on the stove, and I'm going to whisk while I pour in the tempered egg yolk mixture, and I'm going to stir this until everything is well combined and starts to thicken. Once we have all of this egg yolk mixture in our pudding mixture, once that starts to thicken up, then we're going to add the last few ingredients. We're going to add some melted chocolate and some butter. If I was to make this recipe again, I would just leave out the melted chocolate. This pudding was delicious. It was very, very rich, and I don't think it needed the chocolate chips. I think the cocoa powder and the richness of the butter, the milk, and the eggs is plenty, so I'm just going to note that for next time. The pudding's done. This needs to cool off before we can use it. My mom and I are going to start on the next layers of the striped delight. This is going to be the graham cracker crust layer for the striped delight. In here, my mom put crushed graham crackers, some sugar, and butter. We're going to stir it together, and then we'll press it down in the bottom of the cake. Or what would this call? This is not a cake. Dessert. I think I'm just going to get in there with my hands. For the second layer, we need to make some whipped cream. So I have a pint of whipped cream, which is 2 cups, a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, a splash of vanilla, and we're gonna whip this until it's a firm peak. While I was making the whipped cream, my mom and dad started decorating the butterfly cake. They put some of these hard candies down the center for the body of the butterfly. And then my mom is outlining 3 areas where she's gonna fill in with color. She has yellow, green, and purple. And she takes a piping bag that has just a simple round tip, and she outlines it, and then she's taking a star tip and filling in the center of the color. So I think that they did a really good job working together to make this cake really, really special for my niece. So for the next layer of the striped delight, we have our whipped cream here, and I whipped in the mixer just 1 8-ounce package of whipped cream, just so that it'd be a lot easier to fold into the whipped cream. And all we're gonna do is take our this is cream cheese. This is an 8-ounce container of cream cheese. And then we're gonna fold this cream cheese mixture into this whipped cream. And because that cream cheese was at room temperature and I whipped it, it makes it a lot easier to fold into the whipped cream. Now we just take our cream cheese whipped cream mixture. While I'm working on the striped delight, they finished.
Well, it's not quite done yet.
Oh, it's not?
No, I'm gonna do white and I'm gonna pipe around this mess.
Oh, well, it's pretty. This is just gonna get set aside until the pudding is cool. I did put the pudding in a separate container. I put a piece of parchment paper on the top so it wouldn't get a skin forming on it while it cools in the refrigerator. And then we need to make the 2 last hors d'oeuvres. So since we just had cream cheese in here, let's whip the cream cheese, if that works for you, for the 2 hors d'oeuvres.
Yes, I'll do the frosting when you're done.
And then that way we don't have to wash that bowl another time. We're gonna get going on 2 of the savory appetizers. My mom's gonna work on the salmon cucumber ones. I'm gonna work on the ham pickle ones. And we have a little assembly line. I grabbed the platter that said salmon and dill pickle rolls, and we'll show you how to make these.
This is a block of cream cheese, room temperature, whipped, a teaspoon of dried dill, weed, not dill seed. If I had fresh, it would have been a tablespoon. And then I crumbled 3 ounces of smoked salmon into it and mixed it up.
In here, I have 1 8-ounce package of room temperature cream cheese, and we're gonna flavor this a little bit, and this is gonna be for the ham pickle roll-ups. We're gonna add a little bit of parsley, just a little bit of onion powder, little bit of garlic powder, and a little bit of dill weed, which is just dried dill. And we're gonna whip that together. The hors d'oeuvre that I'm working on is the pickle, ham, and cream cheese. The cream cheese mixture is supposed to be kind of like a ranch seasoning. If you had powdered ranch, you could go ahead and put that on inside the cream cheese mixture if you wanted to, but we didn't have that, so we just made up our own. And this recipe felt very retro to me. It felt like something that you would have at like a 60s dinner party, and they went very quickly. These were very, very popular. All you do is dry off a piece of ham, you put some of the cream cheese mixture on it, and then I cut it into thirds. While I was working on these, my mom was working on putting together her mandolin in order to thinly slice the cucumbers. She tried to thinly slice the cucumbers with a vegetable peeler, but the vegetable peeler was not getting the cucumbers quite thick enough, and so she needed to get out her mandolin. But this is only the second time she's used her mandolin, so it took her a little bit to try to figure out how to put it back together. And once she did, it worked really beautifully. These were a really fun and easy hors d'oeuvre to put together. I think we probably will make these more because they were just so good and so easy. My family loves, loves, loves pickles. So here she is. She got the mandolin put together, and the cucumbers were the perfect thickness for this salmon cucumber appetizer. These ones were also extremely easy, especially once we figured out the mandolin. All you do is put the cream cheese salmon mixture on it, roll it up, and put a toothpick. The toothpick was definitely necessary, or they would have unrolled, and it was perfect because then when people wanted to eat one of the salmon rolls, they could just grab it by the toothpick, and we didn't have to have tongs or anything for this recipe. So we just sat here together and worked on getting these assembled. It was a super fun way to get this done. I want to give this pudding a taste test. So much better than store-bought, the box.
It's the ultimate comfort food.
Yeah. This I'm going to put in a little container, and I'm going to have this for dessert tonight. It's time to cover the Nutty Buddy cookies. My mom just went ahead and put a little bit of powdered sugar in a sift and just tapped it over the cookies. These turned out really beautiful. They looked really fancy and fussy, but they were pretty simple to make. And that is how we went ahead and did it. I have this really big drying rack, and it fit perfectly over my mom's sink so that we could put the powdered sugar on the cookies that way, and we didn't make a big mess on the kitchen counter. The rice salad that we're gonna have, what I did here is I cooked 2 cups of jasmine rice in broth, and then I put it on this cookie sheet so that it would cool really well, because you don't want this rice to get overcooked. This salad is fantastic. We're gonna have this on Sunday, so we're not gonna finish it today, but we are gonna get most of it assembled. It's okay if you cook the rice early and it dries out a little bit, because we are gonna be making a vinaigrette to go on top of it, so that will rehydrate it. This is a great salad to make ahead. I pre-chopped 1 bell pepper really small, and then I diced a red onion, and I rinsed this under cold water, and that helps get the really sharp raw onion flavor out. Some people in our family don't like the raw onion flavor. My mom.
And Pop.
Oh, and my dad. I have 3 lemons washed, and we're gonna zest these 3 lemons right into here. Just the outside part. We're gonna get the essential oils out of this lemon. We're gonna use this lemon for the lemon juice when we make the vinaigrette. So I'm just gonna set this lemon right here so that it's all in the right spot. And then we have some cashews I'm gonna stick right here. We're gonna toast these before we make the salad. We'll need to make the lemon, it's like a lemon vinaigrette that's gonna go on this, and we need to cut basil, mint, and cilantro. But I don't wanna cut that because it's gonna be 2 days before, well, not 2 days, it's gonna be, today's Friday, it's gonna be Sunday before we eat this. And if I cut those really tender herbs, they're gonna turn brown. So I'm just gonna cover this, put it in the fridge, and it'll be ready for us on Sunday. We got the kitchen mostly clean.
No point in cleaning it all because I'm gonna make another batch of cookies tonight, and I'm gonna finish the butterfly cake.
So this is all that we got done today. This my mom's gonna finish up tonight. She's gonna put it on a new cardboard, and she's going to frost around the base of it. We got the meatballs, the salad almost done, the bacon wrapped dates and pineapple, the peppers, the pickles, the salmon rolls, the caprese salad, and 2 of the cookies, plus the striped delight and the beans. Alrighty friends, we are going to package everything up. We got so much stuff done. We just want to say a huge thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with us. My mom tonight is going to finish 1 more batch of cookies, and we got most of the kitchen clean, but we didn't fully get it clean because tomorrow I'm going to be back here early, and we're going to make the hummus, the veggie plate, and the fruit plate. And so we just want to say thank you for hanging out with us. Tomorrow is going to be in a different video. To remind you, today is Friday, and we are prepping for tomorrow's Saturday party, which is the going away party. And then on Sunday, we have all the birthdays we're going to be doing. So all of this getting put together is going to be in tomorrow's video. So if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. We love having you guys hang out with us. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And we can't wait to see you next time. Bye, guys.
It's one of my favorite things to do is to spend time with you all in the kitchen.
See you next time.